Behind the Shades.
And I think sometimes those who aren't going through those situations, who are considered, who have their full faculties and things like that, I think that gets lost sometimes because it's very easy for, let's say, and I don't know your medical history, but just based on the way we look,
Mhm.
it's easy for someone like myself, you, and others who aren't going through these challenges to focus solely on the negative because we take for granted the senses that we have, our sense of sight, hearing, smell,
Mhm.
taste, feel, and we don't appreciate, hey, there's a whole population of people
Yep.
that are unable to walk, but they focus on other things that bring them joy. There's people out there that there isn't family members or friends that they can turn to,
Mhm.
but they're able to find joy in another way. So when you mentioned that, fine, he's not able to maybe see the movie or interact with it, let's say like other people, but
Mhm.
he still wants to be a part of it. And I
Yep.
think that gets lost where we're like, well, yeah, there's people out there who have cerebral palsy. There's people who out there who are in a wheelchair. There's people out there who can't do some of the things that we can do pretty easily.
Mhm.
We tend to ignore them. But in your case, that wasn't it. You still said, let's do this as a family.
Of
Let's
course.
share the love. So when you
Mhm.
were doing that, what was the response within the family when you guys were doing all these activities together, regardless of what he or anyone else was going through?
Oh, everybody was always on board. I mean, they love going to the beach with us. They love our families because we're so spread out. It's hard for us to do things together. Like most of my family is over in Europe. When we were in Mexico, the rest of our family was in the Dominican Republic. So it was always just our family was Hillary, Harvey, my two kids, my husband, and me, and that was it. So, and we always did everything together because it was only the four of us. And so I don't really know how others looked at it. I know that now they always join in because when we rent a place to go for the weekend, they'll come with us. When we go to the pool, somebody's always there with us. Um, but I think that also a lot of people don't realize that you don't really need that much help around in order to make your life good too. Yes, it can be, and it's very challenging with more with a special situation like a kid in a wheelchair, let's say for example, that you have to carry, but you make it work. And because there's single moms out there or single dads out there that do it too. So if you have like a unit and you have a partner or you have a sister or you have a brother or an auntie that can help, a lot of people, like you said, are focused on the negative, and it happens in special needs families too, and very, very easily because it's such a difficult situation. And it's so easy to every day go, oh no, this is too difficult to do. Oh no, we're not going to do this because it's going to get too complicated. Oh no, we're not. But you're robbing not just the child or the person you're caring for of love, you're robbing yourself of love, you're robbing yourself of joy too. So that's like, once you understand that, you can do anything you want. You don't really need the assistance from others. That's at least my little belief in my tiny little world.
What were some of the ways that maybe helped you to continue to stay positive and fill yourself with all this joyous adventure in your family?
Well, there's some days where it's not so joyous, and we all go through those too. I mean, I'm not painting a pink picture here. There's good days and there's bad days. But I think the practice of taking care of yourself and learning how to help others care for themselves was for me a very big thing, because once I sat down and I learned about nutrition and I learned about, how relationships influence us, how our outside environment influences us, how our positive mindset can influence us. Once I learned these things and started noticing them in other places, I realized, okay, these are things I have to implement in myself, because I know that if I don't, I can very easily go down into a spiral of depression and never come up again. I mean, it's so simple, and it's just all I got to do is turn on the news. It's like, there you go. Want to be depressed? Here you go. So it's like, okay, you know what? No, that's not the life I choose. I actively choose the choices and the thoughts that I have in my mind. And then one day there'll be a thought like, oh, Daisy, you really don't want to do this today. And I'll be like, yeah, you really don't want to do this today, but hey, not today, I'll do it tomorrow. But and I'll talk myself into it nicely somehow, because somehow it's got to get done anyway. So I think that's a practice that everybody needs to have. Everybody needs to be very conscious of. And that's why I love sharing it with others. Because once you have that practice, not only your life, but the whole world starts to look nicer and starts to get better. And you can start to influence others as well, because your kids will start to see that. And that's how you actively start to build a more positive future, I believe. When you make your world nicer, then start influencing others to make their world nicer. And then it's just a snowball effect.
So Daisy, so you shared some beautiful messages, and it was so insightful, because when you were speaking, I was actually taking it to my life and saying that this is something that I can focus more on. Because as you mentioned, we turn on the news and it's like, oh my God, my anxiety is building. And because it's crazy. It's so crazy. But one thing we can do is we can find something that's going to be more positive, or a better would be something that's more constructive to our day. Absolutely. So as you're doing this, are there certain tasks, or let's say certain hobbies, that you make sure that you're doing day to day to help you along? Well, actually, better yet, to help your family along, since it's all of you together in this.
Mm-hmm. I call them hacks, actually. I call it hacking my life, because there's a couple of things we do. I mean, apart from making sure we eat right, I mean, that is so big in our house. I know the things that we put inside our bodies are the things that provide our energy. So, and once you learn that, and once you start to feel that and actively live it, you'll do that more. So one of the big hacks is we make sure we eat good food and we're always nourished well. But other things that we do, like my son and I, we meditate. We do deep breathing exercises on a daily basis. To him, it's not called meditating, because meditating is boring. And it's like, the worst thing ever. Like, I have a 20-year-old son who thinks like a 16-year-old. So it's like, no, meditation, what is that? It's like weird. But so we do deep breathing exercises, which is really good for the body because it also calms down the brain. We listen to a lot of positive audiobooks, right? We listen to a lot of stories about Christ and Jesus and the Bible, because that he really loves that. And that's the spirit that we have. So that's what pushes us forward. And we play games. Like we make sure every day to do something that each of us really enjoys. So for example, for my son, it's playing Uno. So we will make sure every day, and yes, it's every day, but every day we will play at least 15 minutes of Uno, because when that is done, he's happy. And then basically the rest of the day, I can boss him around to do what I want him to do, because he's already gotten that. So it's those little hacks that we utilize to make sure that we stay healthy and we keep in that mindset too. When we have a moment, we all have moments of craziness, we all have moments of freakouts, and my husband will just say to me, just breathe. Or I'll say to him, babe, it's okay, go walk outside for a second and then come back and I'll deal with the rest. So it's a partnership, but it's also a knowledge between us all, so we all know, like, okay, you're talking strong right now, calm down. And it's not meant as rudeness or attacking, but it's helping each other to stay in that mindset together. So I think that's a big hack for our families, that we all are working together on it.